Ask Tom on Home Show.
Brian writes, I had to install a new upstairs AC unit and outside one for my Jamaica beach house. Now, this is a little confusing for me, and so maybe you can kind of decipher what he's saying here. The AC company replaced the system with a 2.5-ton inside and out. I have a Wi-Fi thermostat for both units. Before going down on Fridays, I moved the thermostat from 78 to 72. And I will tell you, Brian, I do the same thing with my home office when I'm going up there. All weekend, the thermostat read 72, but the humidity was very high. They came and lowered the fan speed, but the humidity was still felt uncomfortable, he says. And when the old 2-ton AC unit, meanwhile, would actually get to 72, it was comfortable. Was it a mistake increasing my tonnage to 2.5 tons?
Well, he's talking about the evaporator coil. In the old days, when air conditioners and humidity was starting to be discovered, it's like before 1970, nobody discovered humidity, but it was already there. But as we got into more air-conditioned homes and less going outside, humidity became a problem. So I don't know what the humidity is, but what I would ask this gentleman is to put a hygrometer in his home and find out what kind of humidity we're talking about. In the area we're talking about in Texas, you're looking at between 50 and 60%. If your humidity is in that range, that's going to be pretty ideal, and that's where you're going to want to have it, and that's where it should be with an air conditioner that runs. When you get colder, and if it's not dehumidifying, I'm going to discuss that in a minute, then it can become cold and clammy, and that's what you hear a lot about. Now, in the old days, with the new SEER ratings going up, but the coil's running so warm, it didn't cool the air as quickly, and so it didn't squeeze the water out of the air. So the old adage was make a smaller evaporator coil and a larger condensing coil outside, and that way you'd have a smaller area and the air would have a bigger temperature drop, and it would squeeze the water because it got colder and the air would come out, and then you'd have cold, crisp air without the humidity. With the newer units today, you're getting away with, you can match them back up again because they have this solved if they're matched up and they're put in properly. Now, here's how you know. Your evaporator coil is the part on the inside, the air transfers through, and it absorbs the heat out of the air and leaves you colder air. It's also where it's supposed to dehumidify. If you don't get a drop across the coil of temperature, we call it the delta T, across that coil of about 25 degrees, 27 degrees, and it's only 16 or 18, it's going to be humid and cold because it's not, and that's why they're slowing the fan speed down to see if they can keep the air in there longer to get a colder drop. So what does this mean? First off, I want to know what your humidities are. Get a hygrometer over at Walmart, put it in there, and find out what it's running. It's easy enough to do. You got the app. You could probably get an app and get one on your phone today. Who knows? And secondly, see what the coil drop is, and that way you'll be able to know exactly how you're going to have to handle this. So hopefully this system, put it all together, this system can be tweaked to get that cold temperature drop. So the humidity, if it truly is too high, and you'll know that by your hygrometer, you can get it down to where it needs to be. And that's what they tried to do with the slower fan speed. So I'm going to say it probably can be tweaked with the new systems, but the higher the SEER ratings, which means the energy efficiency ratios, the warmer the coils run, and that's not good for the Houston area. And that's why you had a smaller coil on that older unit before people started figuring this out.
You know, he has a Wi-Fi thermostat, as do I. I've got one of those Nest ones at my house.
I
want
remember.
Google to know everything that I'm doing.
That's true. They see you.
Yeah. Well, they say they'll do no harm, but
not until they're ready.
All right.
They didn't say when they won't. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
That is the funniest thing you've said in weeks. But anyway, the point is that the Nest thing, it helped me because I understand the thing about this tonnage and the sear and the sizing and all that. But when I got that thing, they said part of what it does is when it stops the air conditioning, it leaves the fan running a little longer, and that's supposed to make it more efficient. Is that right? Am I saying that right?
It makes it more efficient, but it drops more humidity into the house. when you never want the fan motor running when the air conditioner's not condensing, not working, because you have a drip pan where all this water goes down in the drip pan. And then when the air conditioner quits cooling the air and you're running tepid air over a pan of water that hasn't drained all the way yet, it picks it up and it dumps it into the ducts and into the house, all that humidity. So it re-injects the humidity you spent all that money taking out and putting it back in. That's why you never leave your fan setting on the on setting, because it can make you really sick, and it can make your ducts full of all kinds of mold and stuff. So you don't want to do that. So if that's what your thermostat is doing, and that's not what the system was designed for, that's really bad. More efficient is sometimes more unhealthy too. Energy efficiency is the best comfort at the lowest cost. It's not how cool you can get it really cheap and be sick. So you've got to be careful with that. And that's why, well, it's true. And people make themselves sick. They say, but I saved $15 more. Okay, well, I'd rather pay $15 and be happy and healthy.
As I remember the documentation, what it said was that it still has some cooling going on, and by keeping it on a few minutes, and you're saying that
it's not. No, because it's the cooling. The coil's cold, but the water is still, it hasn't drained completely from the pan. So it's like blowing air over a lake or something. You're evaporating that water back into the air and dumping it back into the house.
Don't do that. But instead, what you want to do is go to HomeShowRadio.com and click on the Ask Now button, because then you could be the subject of a question, because we post a new one of these every day. And by the way, if you're looking for answers and this isn't totally what you're looking for, if you go to our YouTube channel and search around in there, you'll find answers just about everything. So we've been posting these for years every day. And of course, you see the newest ones posted daily at HomeShowRadio.com.